Hello everyone, my name is Maria and welcome back to another guitar tutorial on my channel. If you haven't noticed, today we did a bit of a setup change because I wanted to sit on a higher chair. I felt like it was more comfortable. Obviously, you can feel free to play on your couch or maybe on your bed, on a lower chair. Depends how you prefer it. You can try different heights of chairs or whatever you want to sit, as long as you feel comfortable and you have enough movement in your hands. I want to start by thanking you so much for watching my last video. Obviously, I did not expect so many people to find it useful and to watch it, and I am forever grateful for that. If you haven't watched my previous video, it was the first video that I posted on this channel, and I went over 5 basic skills every guitarist should have. We're going to be referencing those skills in this video a lot, so I would recommend you to watch it. If you don't want to watch it, that's obviously fine. However, we're going to be briefly talking about them as well. In today's video, we're going to be talking about 4 basic chords every guitarist should know before they move forward to more complex stuff like playing their first proper songs and barcodes, paper sheet, and so on. I'm obviously going to be talking about those details in other videos as well. However, today we're only focusing on the 4 chords every guitarist should know. These chords are very easy to play. They are the most basic chords you can start with. And by the end of this video, you're going to be confident in playing them, and you're also gonna start playing your first songs with these chords. We're obviously going to go over playing the open strings one by one and tuning the guitar as well as holding the correct position. We're also gonna go over some strumming patterns, so if you have no guitar experience, we can play together. Another thing I want to mention before we jump straight in is that if you don't have your own guitar, I'm going to be making a separate video about what kind of guitar you should buy if you have never had a guitar before, and I'm going to be putting different details on every model depending on what kind of guitar you look for, what kind of experience you had, and what you expect of your music career. So without further ado, let's jump straight in. If you haven't seen my last video, I talked about the different kind of guitars there. If you don't know, this is an electric guitar that I play on, and this is gonna be our base model for this video. We're gonna start by going over the correct position. Remember that your guitar should be placed on your left leg. Obviously, if you feel more comfortable playing on your right leg, that's fine. But I personally prefer playing on my left leg because it's more comfortable and gives me more freedom to move around and play. So from this position, after we have placed our guitar on the left leg, we're going to be slowly raising the head up so that it is higher than our shoulders, and we're gonna be placing every single hand one by one on the guitar. The left hand should be around the neck, rounded up like this, and the right hand should be rounded up as well over the strings where you strum or play them individually. So from this position, we're going to be starting to play every single string one by one so that we can move forward to tuning the guitar. It is very important to tune your guitar before you start playing anything, because if you're not in tune, the song is not gonna sound like it's supposed to, and you might even confuse yourself and play wrong notes. So let's start by going over every single string individually. There is 6 strings on the guitar: E, A, D, G, H or B, and then E again. We're going to be opening our hand and placing the big thumb behind the neck, and the other fingers are going to be rounded up on top of the strings like so. We're going to be playing open strings, so make sure your fingers don't touch any of the strings. Your right hand is going to be rounded up in this position, and we're going to play every single string individually. You must know that the right hand uses these 4 fingers without the pinky one. Usually these 4 fingers take the strings like so. The big thumb takes the lower 3 strings, which are E, A, and D. And the other 3 fingers take the other 3 high-pitched strings, which are G, H or B, and E again. So on the guitar, you place your big thumb on the E string, which is the thickest string. I'm also gonna be posting a picture here of the strings if you don't know them individually. And we're gonna ring it. Good. In order to ring a note correctly, you must go with your finger like this and hit the note gently. If you hit it too hard, you might hear noises that you don't want to hear, like this. You don't want to be hearing that. We're going to be going over the E string again like this. Good. Now from this E string, we're gonna move forward to our next string, which is an A string. From this position, we just take our big thumb and place it on the next string, like so, and play it. Good, this was an A string. Let's move forward to our next string, which is a D string. The same thing again. From here, we move forward to our next string, which is a D string, and we let it ring. For every single following string, we have these 3 fingers, which we place on every single string, like so. This first finger takes the G string, this second finger takes the H or B string, and the last finger takes the E string, the high-pitched E string. So let's try it. From this position, we ring every single string individually. Let's start with G. Good, let's do it again. Good. Now, you might notice that the movement from the big thumb to the other 3 fingers is a bit different. With the big thumb, you want to hit the strings like so. And with the other 3 fingers, you want to hit the strings like so. Let's try again on the G string with this finger. Good, now let's do it again. Good. Now we can move forward to our next string, which is an H or B string. With this finger, we put it in the same position and we move forward to our next string, like so. Good. Now for the last string, obviously we take the last finger, which is this one, and we place it on our last string, which is an E high-pitched string. Let's try it. Good. Let's do it again. Good. Now we have played every single string individually. Now that we know what open strings we have on the guitar, we can also learn what other string we have on the frets. From these open strings, we are going to tune our guitars together. In my previous video, I mentioned that you can either get a personal tuner that you can place on your guitar, or you can use an app like I do. I use Guitar-Tuna. This video is obviously not sponsored. I just really love this app. I think it's very easy to use, even for beginners, and it is free to use. And I'm gonna go over how to use it here. After finishing tuning your guitar, you have gone over every single string individually, how to tune your guitar, and you are ready to play. So in our previous part, we have understood the open strings and their names. However, let's briefly talk about where these names come from. Throughout the years, people have made different notations to understand the notes on the guitar and on other instruments, in order for them to understand what songs they're playing and how to play different songs. Also, the notation helps you move from one key to another. If you don't know what a key is, it is basically a combination of 8 different notes, where the first note and the last note are the same and they repeat each other. So in order for people to understand what they're playing and how to sing different songs, they made notations. This is the notation chart with all of the notes. We can either use ABC notation or Do, Re, Mi. Now, in order for you to play different notes or chords from the open strings, you must understand this chart here. This explains that if you move from the first fret to the second fret or the third fret, the note changes. If you understand the ABC notation, you understand the chord progression and the notes progression. So obviously that means that after C you have D, and after D you have E, and so on. I'm going to give you a brief example. Going over the first fret, here you have an F major. However, if you move your hand from the first fret to the third fret, you no longer have an F major, you have a G major. This example can be used to the 5th fret as well, from G to A. Let me give you an easy example. We're going to do a simple chord progression backwards from A major to E major, like so. Now, during this song, I had played 4 individual chords, however, the position of the hands is the same. This means that moving your hand from a fret to another changes the note and the chord. So, if you understand every single chord, you understand that if you move your hand from the first fret to the second or the third fret, you change the chord and the note. Let me give you an individual note example. The high-pitched open string E, this one, holds more notes on the string, meaning if you place your finger on the first fret, you get an F. You no longer get an E. Like so. This is an E, and placing your finger on the first fret gives you an F. So in the alphabetical order, from E you get an F. And so on. From F you get a G. So you have this simple note progression. E, F, and G. Now, let's try and play these notes together. An important note that I like to add to beginners is that every single fret should have a different finger. Obviously that changes from chord to chord and to note, but I prefer using the first finger for the first fret, the second finger for the second fret, and so on. This way I can use my fingers like this. So for this part of our video, we're going to use our first finger for the first fret and our third finger for the third fret. Let's try and play an F note. With our right hand placed over the strings, we're going to use our third finger to play the E string like this. Now let's try and place our left hand over the F note. So we're going to take our first finger and place it on the first fret, like so. Now we got our first note played. That is not an open string. Now, let's try and play E, F. So we take our hand off to play the open string E and then place our finger back. Let's try it together. Good. Should we try again? Let's try and play the G note. On the same string, we're gonna take the third finger and place it on the third fret. Remember to put pressure in the middle of the fret so you can get a clear note, like so. Good. Now let's try and do E, open string, and then G note, like so. Good. Now let's try again. Good. Now let's try and play E, F, G. The 3 notes we learned, the open string and the 2 notes, together. Like so. E, F, G. Let's try it again. E, F, and G. Now together. Again. Good. Now let's go over our first chord together. This little segment that we did together might have seemed a bit useless to you. You might not understand what this is for. I want to play a full chord. Why would I need to know every single string individually? Why would I need to know how to play one single note if I want to play multiple chords? Because a chord is made out of multiple notes. If you struggle playing an individual note, you will not be able to play all strings at once for a chord. Because basically a chord is a combination of notes. This is the A minor chord that we're going to play together. It is made out of an E note, A note, and C note. Now let's place our fingers. On the D string, we're going to take our second finger and place it on the second fret in the middle. With our big thumb, we're going to be placing it over the D string, and we're going to try and play it together, like so. This is an E note. Now we're going to move forward to our second note of the chord, which is an A note. On the G string, we're going to place our third finger on the 2nd fret and play it with our first finger of the right hand. Let's try and play it. Again. Now, from this position, we're gonna try and play our last note, which is a C note. In order to play this note, we take our 2nd finger of the right hand and place it over the H string. And from the left hand, we take our first finger and place it on the H string on the 1st fret, like so. Let's try it again. Good. Now let's try and play every single note from the chord. Remember what we previously practiced. We place our 2nd finger on the 2nd fret of the D string, our 3rd finger on the 2nd fret of the G string, and then our 1st finger on the 1st fret of the H string, like so. Now let's try and play every single string individually with our big thumb, 1st finger and 2nd finger of the right hand. Remember to put the pressure in the middle of the fret and play it like so. Good. This was E, A, and C. Let's try and play it again. Good. Now let's try to make a strumming pattern so that the chord actually sounds like a proper chord. Let's try to do it down, up. If you don't remember how to do this, or if you have never done this before, I have previously talked in my video, which I posted last time, about strumming patterns. We're gonna try and do a simple strumming pattern, down, up. Down, up. Good, we have played our first chord together, which was an A minor. Let's try and do down, up, down, up. We're going to keep our hand in the same position and do down, up, down, up. Now let's try to do down, up, down. This might be a bit complicated at first, but as you practice, it will become easier and easier. Again, slower. Now we can do it a bit faster. Good. In this next part of our video, we're going to learn together the C chord, which is our 2nd chord of the day. The notes that the C major chord is made of is C, E, and C again. In order to play these notes, we must use the 2 notes that we played in the A minor chord, which are E and C again. We have the 2nd finger on the 2nd fret of the D string and the 1st finger on the 1st fret of the H strings. From these 2 notes that we played in the A minor chord, we're going to add our new note with our 3rd finger on the 3rd fret of the A string. Now, like we previously practiced, let's try and do down, up, down, up. We're gonna try and do slowly and then together a bit faster. 3, 2, 1. Good. Now let's try and do it together a bit faster. And again. Good. Good. Now let's try and do the other strumming pattern that we practiced, which is down, up, up, down. So let's try and do it together slowly. Down, up, down. Good. Now again. Down, up, down. And now together a bit faster. Before we move forward to our next 2 chords, which are going to be kind of related to these ones, I want to take a minute to do an exercise together. We're going to try and put together the A minor chord and the C major chord. or we can say the A chord and the C chord. We're gonna do this slowly so you understand how to play it. We're gonna do a down, up, and then move forward to the C chord and do down, up again. Let's do it together. We're placing our fingers for the A minor chord, and then from this position, we're gonna switch over to the C chord like so. We keep the two fingers on the notes that we need that are the same, which is the E note and the C note. And we move our third finger from here to here and play the C note. Let's try it together. Down, up, and then we raise our finger. See? Down, up, up. Good. Now let's try to do this again at the same speed. We're not hurrying too much. From A minor, we play down, up, and then raise our third finger and move forward to C major, like so. A minor, down, up, we raise our finger, down, up. Good, let's try and do it again without me talking. Now in this part, I'm going to be trying a new exercise with you, which is a different strumming pattern that we previously did. We did down, up. Now let's try to do down, up, down, up, like so. We're gonna place our fingers for the A minor chord and go like this, slowly together. Down, up, down, up, again, down, up, down, up. Now we're gonna switch from A minor to C major and do the same strumming pattern. So I'm going to do this together with this strumming pattern here, from A minor to C major. Let's try it again. Down, up, down, up, down, up, down, down, up. 3, 2, 1. Well done so far. Thank you for sticking around so far. Now we're gonna move forward to our last two chords, which are E minor and E major. We're going to start from the E minor chord, which is a bit easier, and then move forward to the E major chord. We're also going to be using the same strumming patterns because I don't want you to overload with too much information at a time. So if we practice the same strumming patterns just on different chords, it is easier for you to understand the difference between the chords, and also play them slowly so you can actually hear how the chords sound like, or how they're supposed to sound like. The E minor chord is made out of the H note and the E note. In order to play the H note, you must place your second finger on the second fret of the A string, like so, and play it with your big thumb or whichever finger you feel comfortable with. Now we take the next note. So from this position we keep the H note, but we play the E note like we previously did. Here on the second fret of the D string, with our third finger we play the E note, like so. So far we have two notes together, the H note on the A string and the E note on the D string. And let's play it together. Again. Good. This is an E minor chord. Let's try and strum it down. with one down strum, like so. Let's try and do down, up. Good, let's try it again. Let's try and do the strumming pattern that we previously did, which is down, up, down, up. Together. And again. Good. Now let's try and do the more complicated strumming pattern that we did previously in our exercise together, which is going to be this one. Down, up, down, up, up, down, up. Let's try it together. On the E minor chord. Now we have learned an E minor chord. Now, in order for us to progress further, we need to learn the A major chord. So, the E major chord is very simple. From the E minor chord, we keep the same position on the H note and the E note, and we add our first finger on the first fret on the G string, like this. So here on the G string, we put our first finger on the first fret in the middle and play it. Let's try again. So this is an E major chord. Let's try and do a down-up strumming pattern on this. Together we play E major. Let's try again. Now let's try and do a down, up on the E major chord. Together, down, up, and let's try and do it again. Down, up. Now without my voice over. Let's do down, up with an E minor, and then do down, up with an E major. Let's try it together. E minor, down, up. And then we add the first finger on the first fret, and we do E major. Let's try it again without me talking over it. It's going to sound like this. Now we're going to try it and do the strumming pattern that we did previously on these two chords, from E minor to E major, and then we're gonna switch from E major to E minor so that we learn how to take the finger off and how to put it back on. Let's try it together from E minor to E major. Very good, and again. Very good. Now let's try to do the same thing from E major to E minor. So, as you saw, I just took one finger off. Let's try it again. Good. Well done so far. If you have made it to this part of the video, you have learned with me how to play 4 chords, which I think personally that are the most basic chords you can learn when you start playing the guitar if you're a beginner, and which in my opinion are one of the easiest to play. Now, before I end this video, I want to challenge you to find a song that has these 4 chords, or just 3 of them, or just 2 of them, and try to play them together in a chord progression, in a strumming pattern, learn something new, and also practice these chords as well. And before I post my next video, which is going to be another tutorial following this one, you will be confident in playing these chords and will be able to move forward to new chords and new songs. I want to thank you so much for the support that you guys have been giving me on my last video that I posted, as well as on my short videos. If you don't know, I post short videos as well, where I post very short guitar tutorials or just me practicing. I recommend you watch them as well. They don't take long to watch and they're very fun to watch in my opinion. And also you can comment down below on them or on this video what other videos you might want me to post, or if you want me to cover a song, or if you want me to make a tutorial about a song, as well as subscribe to me and follow me on Instagram, where I post other stuff about guitars as well. And if you enjoyed this video, give it a like. Thank you so much for watching it, and if you have enjoyed it, please watch another one. And I'll see you in my next video. Bye!